Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits, because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Let's not forget that. Happy Sunday to every single last one of y'all. Hopefully you guys are all enjoying your weekend before the chaos, because obviously there's a lot of things going on this coming week. All right, it's the holiday week. A lot of people are getting their kids coming back in from college or from school. You know, their fall break is happening right now. I guess it commenced on Friday, for lack of a better term. But nonetheless, hopefully you guys are all being safe out there and your travels are good, because let's be real, Mother Nature ain't playing right now, just so you guys know. But we have got to get into this conversation. We have a lot to talk about in regards to this case. There's a lot of things that happened yesterday I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys about. So we're here to talk about it today. So do me a favor. Do me a solid. All right. Before we get into this conversation, hit that like button down below. Crush it, do it, hit that reaction button if you're watching on these other platforms. If you are watching on these other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, make sure you hit that follow button, all right? If you haven't done it yet, subscribe here to my YouTube channel. Please and thank you, all right? We cover a lot of things, not only just true crime. We talk about everything from true crime to politics to pop culture and everything in between, all the things that are trending, all the things that are going on in the world that matter to all of us. We talk about it right here, all right? So make sure you're subscribed here. Go over to my second channel, The Pascal Show Clips, and my third channel, Pascal Raw. Subscribe to those channels as well. Hit that notification bell on all those platforms. Hit and set it to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because honestly, it's random, all right? Or it's breaking, usually, all right? Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon, and of course, check out pascalmerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there. pascalmerch.com. All right. Yes, guys. Again, guys, this is the time. This is the time of year when we get all our family, our friends, and all that together to enjoy standing around a table filled with all kinds of goods, right? All kinds of foods and salted meats. And just in about a couple more days, we're going to be into the Thanksgiving holiday season. So hopefully you guys are all enjoying your time. I know a lot of people are now doing or at least this weekend was the Friendsgiving weekend. You know, everyone getting together, all the friends getting together, being able to be have their own version of Thanksgiving, kick it, that kind of thing, have some libations and just have a good time, right? So hopefully you guys are all doing well and enjoyed your Friendsgiving if you did that this weekend. All right. Because let's be real. You need that too, because I know a lot of people, like some people really, like myself, I really, really get excited about family time, like Thanksgiving with the family and everything. I really, really enjoy it. Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays solely because you just get to sit down and eat. And I just love food. But one thing that I think is I get really excited about is just being around family and just, people I haven't seen in a really long time, getting together and having a great time and all that. But one thing that I love is that, when it comes to that Friendsgiving stuff, I love that, you're able to get around people that you rock with, get around people that you love, that you may not see during the Thanksgiving weekend, and just have some time, right? Kick it, have some fun, eat some food, be around everybody, and have a good time, right? So hopefully you guys got a chance to do that over this weekend. If you didn't, it's all good. There's always next year. And obviously, there's Thanksgiving. It's going to be happening this weekend, right? Or, this coming Thursday. So I'm sure all y'all are really excited about that. And that's if you celebrate Thanksgiving. Let me just say that too, because some people don't. Okay. Because some of y'all aren't even from America. Okay. Some of y'all are watching from other corners in the world, which I really do appreciate you guys watching the show. So I know this was a very catered opener, okay, to those Americans around the world that are celebrating or planning on celebrating Thanksgiving. But, you know, it's always good to have that Friendsgiving. You know what I mean? It's always good. So while I was in the middle of a Friendsgiving that I was actually attending, I found out information randomly about this case that we've been talking about for a good while now. Okay. I mean, months now, really. We're in November now. This whole case started popping off in September. We've been talking about this whole case since about then. It's been months now. Okay. And we still don't. First off, let me just say this. David has not been arrested, not once. Now, here's the thing, though. Okay, this is what bothers me about this whole case. Okay, the fact that there are so many pieces of information that has come out as of late. Well, even leading up to the information that we're about to talk about, you know, you see the title above, down below, wherever you're watching the show here. There's so much information, even before we get to this part, that I'm sitting here going like, homie, why hasn't he been arrested yet? Why hasn't he been detained? Forget arrested. Why hasn't he been detained? Why is he still out here hiding out in somebody's basement, playing Fortnite, okay, and Minecraft, and writing songs? Why does he have the ability to do that? Why is this dude still out here breathing in this freedom air? Why? This is the part that doesn't make sense to me. Now, I know a lot of us out here are wondering the same damn thing. Because let's be real. As we get into the conversation even more, this tells me, as we start to reveal more information, as the revelations start rolling out, now they're kind of picking up again, which I'm really happy about. The number one question that we all should be asking is, why ain't he arrested yet? Now, just a quick recap. This guy, David, has been named a suspect, okay? He has been named a suspect in the case of Celeste Rivas. Investigators are looking at this as a homicide, okay? I want to make that abundantly clear, all right? They're looking at this, still investigating this as if someone took her life. They haven't changed that. But obviously, now we're getting more information, which is absolutely insane. But again, you have a 14-year-old girl. I know there's other places that are saying 15, all right? But she was 14 years old. If the calculations and the theories are correct, which, you know, I was partially correct too. It's just another conversation in itself. Because y'all came at me. Y'all were mad. How dare you say that about this young girl? I'm like, man, I'm asking a question. And this is just a theory. Damn. And guess what? I may be right. But that's another conversation in itself. Don't worry, we're going to circle back. We're going to circle back to that conversation. Because there's no way that I'm going to ignore the fact that I may be right. All right? But moving on. You have a 14-year-old girl that was found inside the front trunk of a Tesla in a tow yard. They've been doing all kinds of investigation into this whole situation. We find out that this black Tesla that her body was found in, one, is owned by this guy right here. D4vd, D4vd, or David. Okay? I call him D4vd. Okay. Owned by this guy, David. And then, of course, the investigation commence. Again, they could not find a way for some weird reason, which is strange to me. Because if you own the mother-loving car and you have a 14-year-old deceased remains found in the car, period, it doesn't matter if it was in the front, in the back trunk, in the front trunk, in the engine. It doesn't have an engine. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Okay. Underneath the car, in the back seat, in the driver's seat, in the passenger seat. Okay. It doesn't matter. The car is owned by this guy. Parked right outside of his multi-million-dollar home. I repeat, I'm going to keep repeating this. And I know some of y'all, Pascal just likes to repeat himself. Well, dag nabbit, that's how I roll, okay? Now, here's the thing. This is going to be the question. I'm going to keep repeating myself. Sorry. Broken record here. Here's the question. Why is this man still free? Let me just repeat this again. Why? I said, like foghorn leghorn, okay? I said, why is this man still on the free 99s? Someone please explain that to me. Can anyone explain that to me? Now, see, here's the thing. Cicada just said, not for long, but he been out here for long. You see what I'm saying? So the not for long has been long. It's been long, baby. It's been a long ass time. Her body was found in early September. We are at the end of November. You know what I'm saying? And we haven't forgotten about September. It's been a long ass time. Just the fact that this girl's body was found inside that car and it was owned by him alone. And then also on top of that, it's not like this car was ever reported stolen. That's number one. The fact that that car was found a stone's throw away. Yes, a stone's throw away from his home, the multi-million-dollar mansion that he was staying at in the Hollywood Hills, just parked on the side of the road, just chilling, sitting there collecting dust. The fact that she was a missing girl, I mean, she was, and then she wasn't, and then she was, and then she wasn't. You know what I mean? It's, you know, it's like they were on a break, then off a break, then on a break, and not on a break, and then off on a break. And anyway, but you know, she was missing, then not missing. It was on and off quite a bit, right? No matter what. 14-year-old girl reported missing multitudes of times. Her body found inside this car owned by this guy right here down the street from his own home. Car wasn't reported stolen. She's a missing girl. And yet she still is not, he is still not being detained at all. Let's not forget all the other things that he was doing as well, which is suspect as well. As soon as they raided that multi-million-dollar home, $20,000 a month to be exact, that's a whole lot of keys, y'all. They obtained laptops, computers, tablets, phones, all types of electronics. He goes and he successfully, he doesn't try, he successfully takes his name off of his properties and puts it under his mama's name. That doesn't scream. I mean, I understand that's not smoking gun evidence, but for me, and at least in the court of public opinion, I'm assuming the court of public opinion will agree with me when I say that that's suspect as hell, because he's preparing for the inevitable. But the inevitable still ain't here yet. Let me remind you, like I said, broken record. He's still free. Why is this man still free? All that evidence right there alone should be enough. Now, one thing that's very interesting about this situation, rumors were true. Okay. Let me just say this really quick. All right. They said in the very beginning, they did not know whether or not she had been dismantled, for lack of a better term. Okay. Or no. We're now finding out more information that she indeed was dismantled, that she was taken apart. Her body was found in a bag. But let me be real. I feel that it's obvious that she was not intact. Does that make sense? I feel like that's a given. I feel like that's a dead ass giveaway that she was going to be not together. The rumors were saying this. The rumor mill was saying this, but there was no confirmation of this. But now we have found out more information, right? So here's where we are right now, okay? So Celeste's body, okay, and of course we're going to be diving into some more information about this, but her remains were recovered in such a condition that investigators themselves reportedly called it horrendous. All right? And when the medical examiner received her remains, they found her body partially frozen. I'm not kidding. Dismantled, okay? And then, of course, placed in a bag inside the front trunk of this Tesla that's linked to this mother lover artist named D4vd. Okay? D4vd, D4vd. I don't know what the hell that is. Just David. Okay? And this car didn't just roll in recently. Okay? It had been sitting parked on a street in the Hollywood Hills for days. But this is for days, guys. All right? Something I'm still trying to figure out, okay, is this part that I'm going to tell you right here. Yeah, Tractor. Okay, Tractor Basil. What's up, Tractor Basil? It's been a minute since I've seen your face. Good to see you, Tractor. Anyway, yes, D4vd. Okay? But here's the part that I'm still trying to wrap my mind around, okay? Because remember, they said in early September, this is what we're hearing, according to TMZ, which, by the way, we got to proceed with caution. All right? I'm just giving you a fair heads up. I'm not sitting here saying they're not credible. I'm not trying to dog TMZ or anything like that. They already get so much ridicule already. But there's a lot of times where they got a lot of information that's absolutely accurate, and sometimes they're off. Sometimes they're wrong, right? It just happens with any other periodical. But moving on, according to TMZ, they say, and we're going to look at these articles here in a little bit, but they say because of the state of the body, that like how this body was found, it was frozen, it was dismantled, and then left to thaw inside this vehicle. This is the part that I'm still trying to understand. The frozen part. And I'm not saying, let it go, let it go. No, I'm not talking about that frozen. We talking about literally she was put in a freezer, packed with ice somewhere, which obviously we're going to talk about here in a second, okay? But she was left to thaw inside this vehicle. They're saying that it was because of the state of how this body was found. They're saying that the coroner is already warning that they may never be able to actually determine a clear cause of manner of demise. They may not be able to tell us how she actually passed away. That's insane. Which means we're staring at a situation where the official record could end up saying just straight up undetermined. Straight up. Even though everything else about this, to me at least, screams foul play. Okay? But despite that hurdle, LAPD's homicide division is treating this still like a full-blown homicide investigation. And yeah, y'all, David is still considered a suspect, but he should have been arrested already, dag nabbit. And now there's talk of a second suspect. Yeah, we got to talk about that too. There's talk of a second suspect who is allegedly involved before, during, and after whatever happened to young Celeste. All right? That revelation alone just cracked this whole timeline wide the F open, if you ask me. Now, here's the thing. When we hear about this, and of course, we are all asking the same damn questions, right? Could have been a situation where maybe she took something bad happened. She had a bad reaction to something, right? Maybe they're out partying like they usually do, and then something happened. And then he freaked out because she's not of age, period. She was 14 at the time. Remember, she was found just days around days around her birthday. Let's not forget that, okay? 15th birthday. But if the theories are right, and what they're finally starting to understand, like I said, this whole timeline about her demise is completely just, it is expanded, okay? That would mean that she lost her life around 14 years old. When she was 14 years old. She's partying, maybe. She took something and had a bad reaction. Given the fact that she is not of age, she is a minor. She's a little. He hanging out and canoodling, for lack of a better term, with a little girl. He freaks out. And then, of course, tries to cover it up with some friends. Or this is a crime of passion. Something bad happened. And she loses her life. And still, he has somebody help him cover up his wrongdoings, right? Nonetheless, this guy, no matter how many ways you butter your bread, it still comes down to this. This man is still free. He has not been hit with any charges. He has not been detained or arrested for anything in connection to this young girl's demise. Let me make that abundantly clear. Like I said, like a broken record, he is still free. And I want to know why. Now, we got a lot to talk about. It just, to me, just doesn't make any sense. Now, there has been conversations about, which we're just going to tap on. I'm not going all the way on that conversation because I just felt like it was just, to me, a advertising tactic, okay, by the likes of TMZ, okay? But there was already talks of them saying, oh, we have the identity of the second suspect. Because there's no way, like I said, TMZ came out with the information, okay, that he clearly took his car, that black Tesla, drove out to a remote location in Santa Barbara, was there for several hours, and then drove back home. And then allegedly parked his car on the side of the road outside of his multi-million-dollar house in the Hollywood Hills. Now, from my understanding, he clearly had a habit of parking his car in the garage of this multi-million-dollar home. So, of course, people are wondering, why would you park the car outside on the side of the road? Why not just park the car like you usually do inside the garage? Well, what do you think, guys? Because he knew that that body was going to thaw out and was going to permeate a very rancid smell. At the end of the day, he knew bad things were about to go down because this body was starting to thaw out in the LA heat. Remember, days before that car was towed, he drove out. Allegedly, he drove out with his car, that same Tesla, out to a remote place in Santa Barbara, was there for several hours, and then came back, but did not park that car inside the garage. He parked it on the side of the road, and then he packed up his things days later and took off and went on tour. It's a bunch of things we're going to talk about because I got some theories. I've been saying these theories, by the way, okay? Just so you know. Because some of y'all, how dare you? So bad for what you said. Damn, I'm just saying my theories. And I may be right, dagnabbit. Damn. Okay? My theories, which we'll talk about here in a second, they're starting to kind of formulate in real time. Isn't that interesting, don't you think? But here's the thing. TMZ came out with an article the other day. I'm not going to pull this up, but they came out with an article saying they got a second person that is involved in this situation. Because let's be real. Clearly, this is not something that he could have just done all by himself the entire time. Sure, if you have several hours to kill, pun not intended, but if you have several hours to just do something, right, to cover up a crime, you're going to do whatever you need to do by any means necessary. If you are that nefarious, if you are really that monstrous, you're going to do whatever you can to cover this thing up, right? So yes, you could do this. Technically, you could do this alone, but he clearly had help. He went out into Santa Barbara for several hours to do what? To do what? Retrieve the remains? To dismantle those remains? Put them in a bag? Put them in the front trunk of his Tesla and drive back home? Because clearly he didn't go out there for like an audition or for a studio session. Why would you drive 100 plus miles away from your own home in the middle of the doggone night into Santa Barbara to record music? Unless it's Kanye himself saying, yeah, I'm going to let you finish, but I want you to come over here and record with me. I doubt he was going out to Santa Barbara, of all places, to record music in the middle of the doggone night. He would have left hours before that then and did an overnight thing and then stayed there overnight and came back home that following afternoon or that following morning. Okay? Now, here's the thing. He drove up there. My theory, he drove up there because he was there to retrieve her remains. That's what I think. They say that her body was not in, or Celeste was not in that car when he drove out to Santa Barbara. But then he came back home and parked that car on the side of the road. So that would mean if she was gone during that time, which is the theory, okay? Somebody helped him store her remains. Given the fact that we're now finding out that her body was frozen, says something. He drove all the way out there to retrieve those remains. So that would mean, in my mind, she had lost her life way before that. There was time to take her apart and then put her into a deep freezer or something of that sort. And that's exactly what from what I'm seeing, is exactly what I feel they did. Unless they waited for her to be frozen, which is, oh my God, this is going to sound insane. This is going to sound insane. Just run with me here. Just roll with me, okay, guys? But this is going to sound insane. But oh my God, this is going to sound insane. Here's the other theory. What if they thought that by oh, this is going to sound crazy. Forgive me, guys. But what if so she loses her life, right? Somewhere, okay? He drives out to Santa Barbara to put the body in the deep freezer. What if they didn't dismantle her until after she was fully frozen? I know that sounds really messed up. Oh my God, that sounds messed up. But if you really think about it, what if they didn't dismantle her until she was fully frozen? Because cutting it up might be cleaner. Think about that. Yeah, less of a mess. I know that sounds really jacked up, but what if, right? What if he was out there for several hours? So why would he be out there for several hours? Either because it doesn't take several hours to get a bag. I know that sounds jacked up, but it doesn't take several hours to get a bag with the remains in it, you know what I mean? That's already dismantled into the front trunk of a car. Unless he's having a full-on argument with the person that actually was holding her remains for him. That's a possibility too. Put that in consideration. But what if she was frozen? He took her out, and then he was able to use that opportunity to take her apart because she was fully frozen. Less red, you know what I mean? Think about it. Could be wrong, but why was he out there for several hours? It's not like he was off to some remote island, some remote area in Santa Barbara and was digging her up from somewhere, and that would take hours to do that. What if he went all the way out there? She was fully frozen. Maybe he got an alert being like, yo, it's been weeks or it's been months. She's definitely fully frozen, rock solid. I know that sounds jacked up, but just ride with me. And then it's like, okay, let's separate. Think about that. Now, my theory, that is new. Okay. That part is new. That's just something I was just thinking about before I went live. I was like, what if she, you know what I mean? What if he, I'm sorry, waited for her to be fully frozen and then dismantled? Then maybe the added other several hours that he was out there in Santa Barbara was him maybe trying to find a place to discard the remains. But then he couldn't find any place. Or he started getting too nervous. Think about this. All right. Because I know we all got our theories, we all got our thoughts, okay? But here it is, okay? What if they did all that because the dismantling had to happen at some point. At some point, whether she was not in the freezer before or after the freezer, no matter what, she was found taken apart. So it doesn't matter. All of that is important, right? So at some point it happened. She was taken apart at some point, before or after. So what I'm saying is not too crazy, right? But then maybe it was like, all right, put her in the bag. And then he maybe is thinking about going and taking her somewhere to bury her, but then, I don't know, freaks out. Because, my God, I'm driving around with Celeste in the trunk of my Tesla. Yeah, I truly think she was taken apart after she was frozen. I truly think that. Because I think he thought, or whoever he was with, thought it would be less mess. Just less mess. So again, there's that part. That's just a theory. I have not connected all these dots yet. These are just theories that are just coming straight off the dome. But that's a thought, right? But then he has to do something with the remains, right? But he doesn't know what to do. So maybe he thought about burying and then changed his mind because it was like, Maybe he did think about burying her, but he didn't know where to put her, right? So he puts her in the front trunk of his Tesla and he drives back home. A whole 100+ miles back home. He probably is so anxious and his anxiety is through the roof, I'm sure. He's losing his doggone mind because you got to remember, it's like any person that's driving, like imagine somebody who's driving like with 100, I don't know, a crap ton of yayo in their car. You know for a fact they're driving hands on at 10 and 2, driving with absolute paranoia and anxiety is going straight through the doggone roof. You know that, right? Anything. They're pulling up to every stop sign, counting down, STOP, and then drive. You know what I'm saying? They're being extra cautious and super paranoid. And by the time they actually drop off the goods, for lack of a better term, the anxiety is released. But here's the thing. In his situation, he has a full young girl's remains in the front trunk of his ride. The anxiety is absolutely knucking futs. He about to go haywire. 100+ miles with him and her in the front trunk of his ride. So he's like, F this. I gotta pull up. I gotta just get home. Just get to the house. Get to the house in the Hollywood Hills. But he goes, nope, I am not parking this car inside this garage. Hell no. No. Her spirit is still with me. Her spirit is still in that car. Nope. I'm not bringing this into the house. And the potential smell? Nope. Hell no. He pulls up. He parks on the side of the road, a stone's throw away from his home. Okay, just a few hundred feet away from his home. And then he walks his nasty, evil ass back inside that mansion. And then he says, I'll get to it. No. I got here. I got this far. Okay. I'll get to it. No. I'll move it soon. But you know what? It's out here. We good. We got this far. I'll get to it when I get back. And then he goes on tour. And days before he's supposed to be coming back, part of his tour, back to LA, she gets found. Which I feel like part of his plan was that he was going to go on tour, act like nothing happened, which is demonic and sick, if that's true. When he came back while on tour, he was going to go back, get the car, and discard the remains somewhere. But here's the thing. He would have the tour to cover this whole thing up. It's not possible, Your Honor. It's not possible. My client was out of town in, I don't know, Portland, Oregon, doing a tour, singing his feelings on stage when these remains were found. So there's no way, Your Honor, my client would have been able to do what he did what you're accusing him of doing, while he was singing on a stage in Portland, Oregon. Your Honor, D4vd is innocence. Come on now. Think about all that crap. Think about all that for a second. Remember the other Celeste? Oh, the other Celeste. Yes. You don't remember the other Celeste that kind of looked like her and everything? Remember all that crap too? Think about it, love. Think about it, love. Oh, think about it. D4vd had another girl named Celeste. Yes, me love. Yeah. Yeah, a whole other woman by the name of Celeste. Oh, and here's the thing. Zambic. Here's the other thing that's very interesting about this is that if she was gone for several months, like they're saying that she may have passed away in maybe as far back as January, okay? When did the second Celeste start coming up? Okay. Think about that. This is like the wildest true crime soap opera. Who done it? Well, we already know who done it. Let's keep it real. He just hasn't been caught yet. But think about all those pieces of information. Okay? Think about all of that mother-loving information. And if she really did lose her life as far back as January, so the very beginning of this year, by the way, we're about how many months into 2025? We about done with this mother lover. She may have been gone for almost a damn year, if not more. Just so you know. So he put her remains in the car, drove all the way back home. Sure, anxiety is going through the roof, pulls up, says, nope, not going to park inside the garage. I'm going to park on the side of the road. F this. And when I get back during my tour, when I circle back on my tour, I'll handle it during that time. It'll be fast. No one will notice. But the thing is, car gets towed because he's a dumbass. Car gets towed. Thank God he's a dumbass. Car gets towed. Smell comes out. And then they find her in the frunk of the Tesla. So his plans were foiled at that point because he made a very dumb move by putting the car on the street instead of parking it in the garage. You realize that if he parked it in the garage and not in the street, he may have gotten away with this whole thing. She'd still be a missing name and a missing person's face, like the many others that we've seen, that would still be unsolved, right? We'd be hearing the likes of all kinds of people going, where is Celeste Rivas? And then as time goes on, her name and the care and the passion starts to slowly dissipate as people, like we always do, get focused on another case or another tragedy or another piece of drama. But then one day we'll go back and be like, remember back in 2025 when we were all wondering what happened to Celeste Rivas? But she'll just be a story. Now, because he made that mistake, she's not just some name on a missing persons poster anymore. She has been found. And what happened to her here is unjust. Absolutely unjust. And again, I hate to keep reminding you guys, but he's free. Because like I said, medical examiner may not be able to determine her cause of demise. But one thing is for sure, she was dismantled. One thing's for sure, her dome was removed from her mother-loving body. Oh, and let's not forget she was partially frozen as well. Let's take a look at this, guys. Frozen, partially frozen, sorry, because she clearly was thawing out. Because if you really think about it, I hate to even put this thought in your mind, but let's be real. She was frozen before she started to thaw out. But because she was in this extreme heat, inside a black on black on black Tesla in the LA heat. Let's not forget that too. She started to thaw out, but she also started to rapidly deteriorate. So that also tells me that, yeah, she had been frozen for a long time. Practically freezer burn. I hate to say it like that, but yeah, I think she was frozen for a good long time. And if SF investigates with his theories and what he has come out with, the information that he has given us so far, now he's not talking anymore because, of course, things are getting very close to, I guess, getting him arrested, getting David arrested. I get that he's not able to kind of disclose any more information, but nonetheless, we are now knowing that this guy, like, he did some really really messed up, jacked up stuff. And if she lost her life as far back as January, that means she was frozen as far back, could potentially be frozen as far back as January, y'all, of this year. Remember, this is the holiday season. You know what I'm saying? So we're about to walk into New Year's, like, very soon. You understand that, right? 6 some odd weeks from now or something like that. Okay. Give or take. We about to ring in the new year. Right? So if she lost her life way back then, she'd been frozen for a good long time before he actually took her out. And I think dismantled her then. Okay? Crazy. So let's take a look at this. Celeste Rivas's body had been frozen. And as a result, it looks like the LA County medical examiner will not be able to establish a cause of demise. Sources directly connected to the investigation tell TMZ. So according to those sources, the medical examiner received the body in horrendous condition. Her head was removed from her body. And while the torso was still intact, the limbs had been removed and cut into multiple pieces. I think he cut her after she had frozen. Yeah, I truly think that. I'm standing 10 toes down on that until we hear otherwise. But I think he froze her and then he took her apart. Okay, that's what I think. Now I want to know if he went somewhere to maybe buy a handsaw or buy any materials before he actually went to Santa Barbara. Did he go to a Home Depot, a Menards, okay, or any local mom and pop hardware store and pick up material before this actually happened, before he actually got help, I'm sure, dismantling her remains? Just something to think about. But anyway, we're told all the body parts were partially frozen and had apparently been thawing out while sitting in the front trunk of David's Tesla. So remember, his vehicle had not been moved for several days when it was parked on the Hollywood Hills near his rental home, which resulted in it getting towed and then a body being found. Now, as TMZ reported, Celeste's body was in bad shape. This is what they say initially, all right? And they did not know at that time if her remains were male or female. That's how bad of shape they were in. When the body was received by the ME's office, the initial determination was this was a victim of an apparent unaliving. But our sources say the ME, medical examiner, is now having trouble establishing an official manner of cause of demise, and will most likely be undetermined. Other sources connected to the investigation tell TMZ the LAPD's robbery homicide division is viewing her demise as a homicide. And even if the official cause of demise is undetermined, authorities can move forward with an arrest. So when is he going to get arrested? Because again, like I said, there is no way on God's green earth a guy like this is going to be able to just get up and walk around, like I said, freely when you have a underage person, doesn't matter if it's girl or boy, underage person found gone, chopped up in the front trunk or in the anywhere inside a car that you actually own. Like I said, that just doesn't make sense. And he's still free. Hopefully this week, he's going to have a very cold Thanksgiving. That's what I'm hoping for. So we already know about TMZ breaking the story, but many have as well. David is now considered a suspect in the manner of her demise, all right, in connection to her demise. What's more, TMZ has learned that there is a second suspect who authorities believed helped David in the taking apart of her remains. Now, here's the thing that really aggravates me about TMZ, because they did a whole article about this, and I read it the other day, okay, when they said, the other suspect has been identified. And you see this in bold letters, right? In big, bold letters is the title. You're like, oh my God, who could it be? So you run over to that article, you press it, you click on the link, you open it, and it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. In fact, it's just an advertisement for them to have you go and check out their podcast. And then when you listen to the podcast, they don't even talk about the name. They don't even reveal the mother-loving name. They just say, well, just so you know, it's been identified. Congratulations. Suspect has been identified, but what we really give a damn about is what's that mother lover's name? Is it Neo? Is it somebody else? Who is it? Is it his manager? Who could it be? But they're like, yeah, well, we can't disclose it. So you made us click on this, listen to however long that episode is for nothing? Like, yeah, cool that the person has been identified. Great. But that's not putting tasty cinnamon toast crunch in my bowl right now. That's just giving me air. It's giving me bump kiss. Nothing. Tell us the name. Can't disclose it. Come on now. Jesus. Come on, man. Come on now. But TMZ did come out with this. Harvey did say this here, and I checked this out, and this was more legitimate. Let's take a listen to what he's saying. And of course, I got to jump in and out because, fair use, and they're pretty crazy about the fair use crap here, especially with TMZ. Let's go.
In the Celeste Rivas death, TMZ has learned that her body had been frozen. And when it was found, it was still partially frozen in the back of David's car. And it was in such bad condition that we are told the medical examiner may never be able to establish the cause of death.
Now, let me just say this really quick. The fact that they can't establish cause of demise is absolutely insane. And the fact that it was so badly deteriorated and so in such bad shape that the medical examiner is standing here just literally scratching their heads trying to figure all this ish out. Like, how did this happen? Right? Now, here's the thing, okay? This still adds to the theory that I have in my mind. The theory that I had in the very beginning. What if my theory is exactly the same, or is okay? What if the theory that I just said to you guys about her, obviously we now found out that she was frozen, right? And then of course, she was found dismantled, right? What if in the very beginning she was actually buried? Think about that. What if whatever happened to her, he did whatever he could, or they, whoever it was, did whatever they could to hide the remains. But at first, she was buried. And then it was like, no, that's not a good idea. Maybe. And then she was moved somewhere else to be buried. Again, like I said, that's just a theory. Doesn't mean that what I'm saying is absolute scripture, but it is a theory that they had several months. They had several months if she really lost her life around January time, maybe even earlier than that, they had several months to make a lot of mistakes, right? Like, you know what I mean? So in my mind, I'm like, maybe he did bury her at first, and then maybe he confided in somebody, or maybe they found a place to put her remains. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of curious about where this actually how all of this went down, right? Of course, like I said, I don't have all the answers, but my theory was that, and it's two different things. Either is the friend who helped him that said, "Bro, if you don't move her now, I'm going to squeal. I'm outing you. You have got to get rid of this body right now." Right? Or because he is kind of a spiritual, kind of in a weird demonic kind of way, I feel like maybe her essence, her spirit was lingering, right? And the guilt was getting to him. Almost like some crazy Edgar Allan Poe telltale heart type thing, a rapping on your chamber door, right? That maybe he just couldn't handle the pressure, right? That he just couldn't handle the guilt anymore. And then he's like, no, I need to take her somewhere else, right? I need to do the right thing. I need to take her somewhere else. Or here's the other one. I know it's a lot of theories, but we don't have anything confirmed yet. Or he wanted to get himself caught? I don't know. I don't know. But like I said, I got questions. Of course, I got my own set of theories. But this is yeah. 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 I think maybe she was, I wouldn't say haunting him. Well, haunting him in the way of like making his life a living hell, right? The guilt and all that just bubbling up to the point where he's like, fine. You know what I mean? I can't. Her memory is still lingering. Her spirit is still with me. I can't do this. It's not right what we did. We need to move her body somewhere, or I need to move her body somewhere, or blah, blah, blah. Or maybe in some weird, messed up way, this goes to like weird demonic sacrificial crap, but maybe he's like, I gotta make up for what I did. So I'm gonna put the car out here on the street, and hopefully eventually she'll be found, and I will get myself caught, and I will take whatever comes to me. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I just don't see that happening with him. You know? I just don't see that possibility. I think he was dumb. He thought that maybe she's frozen, that no one's going to notice. I'll be back in a week or two, or however long that tour was going to be. However long he was going to be till he came back to LA while on tour, and I'll try to find a way at that time, and I'll muster up enough courage at that time to move her body somewhere else. That's what I think. Maybe. But again, I could be absolutely 110% wrong. Let's hear what Harvey got to say.
So here's what we know. When the body was found, it was in terrible condition. It had been decapitated, the torso was intact, the limbs had been removed, and they were cut up severely. The body was partially frozen in the trunk. And this is really important because remember, the body had been sitting there for days before it was finally impounded and then the body discovered. And it was still, the body parts were still partially frozen. So we are told that when the body first went to the medical examiner's office in early September, it was listed as an apparent homicide, but that was just from what seemed obvious, that the body was cut up into pieces. The medical examiner is having a really tough time right now trying to figure out what the cause of death was. We are told it is likely a really tough time right now will go undetermined because of the the condition of the body and the fact that it was frozen and the fact that it was cut up the way it was. So we have told you that we know David is a suspect, and even if it is undetermined, the LAPD can still move forward, as could the LA County District Attorney. The LAPD is viewing this as a homicide. David is a suspect. We know this. And
now here's the thing. This is the thing that bothers me, is the fact that yes, he is being seen as a suspect. He is a suspect. He is a suspect. And of course, they are now saying that they have identified the second person, which is fantastic news. Eventually, that name will come out. Hopefully, it'll come out at the top of this week, right? Hopefully, this happens, him getting arrested and all that, and we get more and more information here in the next few days. That's what I'm hoping for, right? But yeah, Kay, I'd like to know that too, dagnabbit. Where he at, though, right? He hiding. Now, some people think that he might, you know what I'm saying? Before he even gets arrested, because he won't be able to, handle the idea of being thrown in jail or being in prison. And I'm telling you right now, oh boy, prison would make a meal out of that mother D4vd. Okay. Like I said, I always say he would most definitely be one rocking Kool-Aid lipstick, holding the inside pocket of a man named Toby in seconds flat. Okay? Seconds flat. All right? Real talk. So again, I don't know, but there is a theory that they're going to be like, that you'll see that he won't be here, if you get what I'm saying. Deletion, gone, right? But I don't know about that. Okay, I don't know about all that. What I want transparency. I want honest information, and I want to know what exactly happened here. I think we all want to know what happened. What did he do, or what happened to Celeste? And then why not just step forward and go, if it was a situation where it was, she took something and it was a bad reaction type of situation, boom. Why not just step forward and say it? Why go out of your way to cover this whole situation up like you have been with this other person? And God knows if there are other suspects aside from him and the person that they have just identified that are all in on this whole cover up. That's the thing, right? I want to know what exactly happened. I'm sure the family, right, deserves to know what actually happened to their daughter, even though I feel like her family failed her as well. I will say that. I think she was failed by her family and those that were surrounding her. All the people that actually knew how old she was and her whole background story, they failed her. Okay? They failed her. So, we'll see.
One of the keys to the case is a trip that authorities say David made in the middle of the night back in this spring to a remote area of Santa Barbara County. We are now also told that there is a second suspect, and our information is that the second suspect has something to do with the cutting up of the body. Now, Mark Garagos, who is my co-host on the Two Angry Men podcast, told us in the most recent podcast that his information is that this second suspect is being looked at not just for dismembering the body, but also for what happened before, during, and after Celeste's death.
So they might be involved in the unaliving, and then, of course, for the cover-up of Celeste Rivas as well. So, wow. And again, like I said, what actually happened here? Is it just some crazy, sycophantic friend that would just do anything at D4vd's bidding? Did David just say, like, take her out? And he's like, whatever you say. You know what I mean? Like, I love you, man. I'll do anything for you, man. Okay, take her out. Word? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's the thing, Peg. I want to know why though too. Why would any of this happen? Why would he go and unalive her? Right? Unless it was a situation of her like, I'm about to expose you. What if that actually happened? I'm about to expose you, David. You know how old I am? You know how old I am. I'm about to expose you for the nasty PDF you are. It's possible too. And it's like, I got a career. I got thousands, millions of fans. My songs are being played on Fortnite. And then he does whatever he did. Or he gets help. You know? But still something ain't right here. Something ain't right.
So there is a second suspect that the LAPD has its sights on. They have identified the person. Garriga says he knows who it is, not saying, but it is a second suspect implicated here. So obviously the question, how on earth did this body go from Santa Barbara, if that's indeed where it was taken? And that seems to be the operating theory of the LAPD, that if it was taken to Santa Barbara, how did it end up back in Los Angeles in the trunk of David's car in a residential neighborhood? The only thing that makes sense, and that's months and months later, the only thing that makes sense is that based on connecting the dots, it would seem that this body was put in a freezer for an extended period of time. And it was so frozen that by the time it got in the car, it took a long, long time for it to unfreeze, and it had not fully unfrozen at the time the body was discovered at the impound lot.
So again, like I said, imagine being, not imagine being, but imagine having, something frozen. It's been frozen for a very, 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 very long time. Okay. It takes a minute for something like that to actually thaw out. And I hate to say it like that, but that is something that needs to be put into consideration, right? So I feel like over time, okay, like I said before, I think that she was clearly frozen for a very, very long time. And then as she started to thaw out, because it was several days, but it wasn't like she was out there in the heat for several weeks, right? It wasn't several weeks or several months. She was in that car for not very long, okay? In comparison to how long she was frozen for, right? In my mind, in my theory. And so it takes a minute for something like that to thaw out, especially, in the situation, in the area that she was in. Okay. You got hot days and then cold nights. That's kind of how LA is, right? So again, just very, very interesting information. Now, of course, what they're telling us here, we have to take with a grain of salt, right? We haven't heard anything from law enforcement themselves. This is all just information that's being said from TMZ, right? But you also got other local news talking about this as well and reporting this as well. Take a listen.
Developments in the case of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose body was found in the front trunk of singer David's impounded Tesla in September.
David was officially identified as a suspect in the teen's death this week. And now a source that's close to the case says detectives have identified a second suspect. Lindsay Pena, live in our news center with the latest on that. Lindsay?
Rick and Karine, this is the second major development in this case this week. Back on Tuesday, a source was able to confirm to KTLA that singer David is being named as a suspect, as you mentioned. The body of the Lake Elsinore teen was found September 8th in the front trunk of David's Tesla, impounded at a Hollywood tow yard. David was on tour at the time, but police now believe Hernandez was killed last spring. The medical examiner reported she had been dead for an extended period of time. Just yesterday, the case was updated in the medical examiner's website. The cause of death had been listed as deferred for weeks, but now there is no information listed, which means there could be a security hold on the case. Late today, TMZ reporting that Rivas's body may have been frozen, and that could make it difficult or nearly impossible to determine the cause of death.
I am kind of curious about how it's nearly impossible to get an idea of what actually happened to her if her body was frozen, right? And again, like I said, I'm going to roll that back a little bit, but I feel like wouldn't that preserve some type of evidence, right? Now, obviously, given the fact that she was separated, right? And they say she was severely separated, at least according to TMZ, it does make you wonder, like I don't know. Something is weird, right? Let me read this here really quick. And of course, let me know what you guys think here. Okay. Yeah, Heather, first off, yes, I agree. You'd think that it would preserve it. You corrected yourself here in a second. But yeah, you'd think that it would preserve some evidence, right? Especially if it was something chemical, right? That took her life. If she OD'd or something like that, right? She had a bad reaction to something, then, maybe you'd be able to see, oh, she had this in her system, because it would be frozen-ish. Because remember, she was partially thawed. This sounds so jacked up, but this is what they're claiming, right? So it does make you wonder about that, right? Yeah, wouldn't it preserve some of the information, some evidence, right? That's just something I don't understand, okay? And I hope we get a full understanding about that. Let me get this super chat here really quick, because let me just get this really quick. Shauna, thank you so much for the love. I appreciate it. Itami, yeah. The Itami aspect, the shows meet area. I don't know what the shows meet area means, plain as day. I don't know what the shows meet area. Shauna, if you're still in the chat, I see you in the chat. If you can explain what you mean by the shows meet area thing, I don't know what you mean exactly. So if you can explain that, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay. Yeah, and I agree. I don't think that she did this to herself. I really don't. Then he would just go, she did this to herself. You know what I mean? Why remove her, freeze her body and all that? Something sinister happened. That's without question. Something sinister happened. Let me grab this. Daisy, thank you so much for the comment. Imagine her body beginning to thaw out and how messy, watery, gooey, slimy her body could go, or could have got if that happens to food when you leave it out for a while. That's actually, you're right. That's exactly what I mean. Like, it probably was like just a cesspool of just nasty stuff, right? And of course, it's the smell, it's everything else as well. So yeah, and of course, it's starting to deteriorate because it's getting thawed out and it's in this extreme heat and all that as well. And it's being out in the sun, or not being out in like baking, basically inside that Tesla, right? Over time, yeah, it's going to be an absolute nasty, sloppy, goopy, disturbing mess if you really think about it. So you got a point there too. But yeah, deterioration would actually happen, would rapidly happen as well, due to the conditions that the body was inside that Tesla. But the fact that it was partially thawed says something to me as well. It's like, okay, maybe there was something that could be preserved there. That's just my thoughts, right? Yeah, see, that's the thing. What did they say? Miracle child. Yeah, I don't understand how the body, it was still partially frozen in the trunk when the car was sitting in the sun in August and September. Yeah, the car was there for weeks. Now, they say that it was several days. So again, at the same time, because like I said, the timeline here, guys, has been changing. Now things are starting to shorten and expand all at the same time, right? So a few days before the car was actually towed, he drove out to with his Tesla out to Santa Barbara. He got her remains, put it in the Tesla, and then drove and parked that car right there. And then it was there for several days, not several weeks, several days. You see what I'm saying? So you got days in the trunk. You're going to have thawing happen for sure. And then you also got to remember the extreme temperatures that happen on a daily in LA, right? Hot days, cold nights. So as it starts to thaw and then it becomes nighttime, it gets cold, right? And then it rises back up, the peak of the hottest day, hottest temperature of the day, and then it drops down, right? So, like I said, I think it was just like this. You know what I mean? Hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, right? Some days it's in an overcast, right? Where it's still kind of hot, but the sun's not blazing. Some days the trees, the shadows cast over the car, so it's not as hot, so on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? You got to put all these other elements on top of this, right? It's not only just, it was just sitting there in the middle of the desert, right? Where there's no trees, nothing, just heat. Just unrelentless, unapologetic sun and heat. It's not like that. It was on the side of a road with lots of vegetation around, right? And again, like I said, LA heat and LA sun, some days it's blazing hot, some days it's not. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. So again, it's just something to put into consideration. Like I said, it's just a theory. I may not be right at all, but it's a theory nonetheless. Let's continue.
Period of time. Just yesterday, the case was updated in the medical examiner's website. The cause of death had been listed as deferred for weeks, but now there is no information listed, which means there could be a security hold on the case. Late today, TMZ reporting that Rivas's body may have been frozen, and that could make it difficult or nearly impossible to determine the cause of death. Our request to the medical examiner's office for more information hasn't been answered yet. Now there are.
So I'm going to jump ahead to Mark Garagos here.
What law enforcement is focusing on right now is they're trying to determine locations, and they have reverse engineered. They obviously know when they found the car. They obviously know when they discovered the remains. They now are reverse engineering the movements of all those who were involved, and they've done it in a very sophisticated way.
Garagos and Harvey Levin of TMZ both confirming independently that investigators are looking closely at a trip that David took to a remote area of Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night last spring. At this point, one former LAPD detective we've spoken with says David is likely under surveillance, and all of these developments could mean an arrest is coming soon. Attorney Allison Treasel saying
if the arrest does actually come soon, it couldn't come soon enough. Okay, this is taking way too bloody long. She should have been found, or like she should have already been getting closer to justice already. You know what I mean? But I get it. The fact that her remains have been so severely tampered with, for lack of a better term, that it's been tough to get things solidified. But at the end of the day, there's something about this that just is not right. It just is not. And it's very, very frustrating because, again, you got a guy who is still out here living his life. He's still out here living his life, hiding wherever he may be. Okay? So it's just ridiculous, y'all. Okay? And then that's the other thing, too. According to TMZ, you ain't wrong, Nene, that he is not. Now they have revealed that, too, which we talked about in another live, that he's not even participating, he's not willing to cooperate with police. No person in their right mind that is innocent is going to refuse to cooperate with police. That is a huge dead giveaway. Look at Emmanuel Haro situation. Okay. Look at Emmanuel Haro situation with Jake the Fake and Rebecca Haro. They refused to help or cooperate with police. Why? Because they had a lot to hide, y'all. They had a reason. And I think there's a lot going on with this guy right here that needs to be revealed. Okay. But before we continue on, just a real quick thing here, guys. Just so you know, I know some of you guys have been, this is a little bit of left turn. This is a quick conversation, okay? Small little infomercial. For those of y'all who've been asking about Christmas music, okay? I have pinned to the top of the chat an original Christmas song, all right, that I did last year or the year before. I don't know, about a year ago. But anyway, or about 2 years ago. But anyway, go check it out. If you got some time, check it out. It's also available to download on all streaming sites, all music streaming sites. Okay. If you want something new, you're tired of hearing All I Want for Christmas Is You, go check it out. Okay. So it is pinned at the top of the chat. All right. It's called I Can't Wait for Christmas. You know, it's a Christmas song. So go check it out. I got some other Christmas songs. I did a live performance last year during our Christmas special. Okay. Our holiday special. I did a performance. Please Come Home for Christmas. All right. Check that out if you want to. Okay. That is live. So I brought a band together and everything, you know, and we did all that. And no, I'm not throwing any shade to Mariah Carey. Okay. No, it's just that, you know, it's the first song you hear as soon as it's Christmas time. You're like, oh my God, stop. Right. And it's like, okay, it's begun. As soon as Halloween is over, you're like, oh my God. Haven't even put down the Halloween decorations down yet. And you're already doing, like, good God, come on, man. You know, I know you're just playing. Okay. But like I said, right. As soon as it, like, you know how like the girls be, the ladies be, as soon as a leaf falls off a tree, they're wearing all beige and they're drinking their pumpkin spice lattes. Right. Come on now. With their tan fedora hats, you know? It's fall. Yes. You know what I mean? All day long, right? Soon as Halloween is over, you're like, damn, can we get the Thanksgiving first? Please? Which, by the way, there's no good Thanksgiving songs out there. You know what I mean? There's no Thanksgiving song. Have you not noticed that? There's no like, gonna eat it up or whatever the hell. You know what I mean? As soon as Halloween is over, it's not supposed to be, it's supposed to be gobble, gobble or something like that. You know, time to eat it up. Gobble, gobble. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got time. Thanksgiving's this week, baby. You know what I mean? I ain't got time. Okay. Yeah, it's the sweater weather, you know? Yes. Pumpkin spice lattes. You know what I mean? That kind of crap. You feel me? Okay. Pardon all the turkeys. No. No. We're not doing that. Let's check out Nancy Grace because she got some things to say, I'm sure. And I'm kind of curious about what she got to say too. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, she talks about wow, that's crazy. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Let's see here. Let's take a look at this.
Absolutely, Nancy. I think the thing is, it would definitely be a major conspiracy for people to be participating and taking acts to cover up a crime in that fashion if there is evidence to support that. Right now, what we have is a tight-lipped law enforcement agency that isn't releasing a whole lot of information. And the reports that are going around are the suspicions and the hunches and what could possibly have happened. But the prosecution can't convict on the hunch, and we're just we need to see a bit more evidence to support any of those type of allegations, whether it's a huge cover-up.
Wait, you want
or
more
even the fact
evidence
that
with a
murder
dead
committed.
body decomposing in his trunk?
Yes, because we still don't even know. You were talking about with the anti-mortem and post-mortem injuries, we don't know whether or not there were injuries to that body that would support that a crime of murder was actually committed. If all of these are post-mortem wounds, if anything like that is found, we can still argue mutilation, transport, concealment of the body, but are we really going to get to the crime of murder and whether or not D4vd is actually the person who committed that? Or does the nature of the involvement in the crime, maybe it was limited to a potential cover-up and involvement, maybe knowledge, but who committed the act if he's actually named as suspect and investigated for that crime.
The LAPD has been working on a timeline of activity for Celeste and Burke, and an insider with the police investigation says they've been able to determine that in the spring of this year, Burke took a secret trip in the middle of the night to a remote area of Santa Barbara County. Burke remained in the area for several hours.
Bombshell tonight. Crime Stories now streaming first on Fox 1. That's right. You can now watch all the new episodes of Crime Stories.
You continue on this world tour. Nothing was found in your car.
How could somebody put a then 13-year-old little girl in a trunk?
Burke becomes a suspect in the possible homicide of a child. Police say it is likely Burke had help in dismembering and disposing of Celeste's body. Burke still has not made a public announcement about Celeste being found in his car. And after initially saying Burke was cooperating with the investigation, the singer has not been cooperative during the last 2 months.
Bombshell tonight. According to sources within the LAPD, says KNBC, D4vd, a.k.a. David Anthony Burke, is being investigated as a suspect in the death of teen girl Celeste Rivas. We are also learning, contrary to prior reports, that he has not been cooperative throughout the investigation. And I'm just curious, does it have anything to do with this?
Not at all. My dad is a litigator for a law firm. My mother was a teacher. She doesn't do it anymore, but she does notary now.
That is from, and the writer is on YouTube. So, I mean, think about it. To Moses Castillo joining me, former LAPD, you got a trial lawyer for a dad, according to Burke himself, and a notary as a mom. I guess they did tell him to shut his pie hole. He hasn't said a word.
I do think that's very insane that he hasn't said anything at all, right? That he hasn't said not a damn thing. We haven't heard any statements or anything of that sort. And like, let me just say this too. Like, I get it. I get why. Because because he hasn't said anything to the court of public opinion, that looks very suspect. But to everybody else, those who are not, that know how, the law is and everything, it makes sense. Like, let me be real, okay? I'm a human, okay? I'm a human being, just like everybody else for the most part, unless you're AI. But for what it's worth, I feel that the human reaction is going to be, why hasn't he gone out and said something? Why hasn't he said anything at all? That doesn't make any sense. He's just hiding. Usually you hear something. Even the most guilty have come out and said, I found God, I found sobriety, I found therapy, I'm just a man, right? There's always some, even the most guilty will come out and say something just to save face. And we haven't heard anything from him at all. Not even a my thoughts and prayers go out to the family that are deeply affected by the loss of their daughter. Nothing. We heard nothing from this guy. He is hiding. But given the fact that, let's be real, he's got a father that's a lawyer. We just heard that, right? And he's got other lawyers, I'm sure, that are standing right next to him being like, no, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing at all. Don't say anything. Do not say anything. And I'm sure he's just doing exactly what they're telling him to do, which is shut your mouth, right? But I'm telling you right now, I kind of wish he would have said something by now. Just something to show that he even has a heart for this person. Like I said, the human reaction, the human side of me, okay? Take out law, take out that stuff, right? I just wish he would say something. And I know that that's what everybody wants. I get that that's not an automatic admission of guilt because of his silence. But at the same time, court of public opinion is looking at it like, no, him guilty big time. I'm just going to play a little bit of this. I just want to hear what this guy got to say.
Now, what can be used at trial are all actions, behavior, patterns before, during, and after a crime. Under the law, of course, a defendant has a right to remain silent. But if she really went missing all the way back in the spring and he never said a word, that's damning. Do you agree?
Absolutely, I agree. Not only him not saying anything, but his actions of transferring, there's some reports that he's transferring his properties to his mom under his mom's name. What does that tell you? That he's afraid of potential civil litigation of a wrongful death lawsuit. So all that points to a consciousness of guilt in my mind. And Nancy, every day there's justice delayed, is justice denied, and we need to fight for transparency, and we need this done so that we could get whoever's responsible accountable.
Well, I appreciate that sermon. I do. But what I'd like to point out, Moses Castillo, is that every day that goes by, we lose evidence. We lose witnesses. Evidence is cleaned away from the home. I heard that it's been professionally cleaned now. All that evidence is gone. To Joe Scott Morgan joining us,
She's definitely got a point there, right? The more time that is being wasted, the more days go by, the further and further these other possible suspects, the further and further the evidence starts to turn away or disappear. These potential other suspects start to run away and all that. So I agree with her 110% on that for sure. This is all very, very bad. And this obviously, there needs to be something done soon. You can't sit here for this long and say, oh yeah, it was his car. He was in this relationship with this girl. She was found in this way. He drove out and did this several hours away, or hours away, and was at this particular remote area for this many hours. You see what I'm saying? So again, it's insane to me, okay, that he's still, like I said, broken record, that this man is still free. All right? The fact that this man is still free really, really burns my cookies. All right? Really burns my grits, really boils my blood. I do not like the fact that this man, who clearly has a connection to this situation, is still free. This guy should have been arrested by now. I'm hoping that means that this week, and I'm going to keep an eye, we're going to keep a hard, close eye on the moment he actually gets arrested, because when he gets arrested, this is going to be big, okay? It's going to be big. I just hope it's very soon. Like, I'm hoping it's within the next day or two, because there's no way that you have all this mounting up, all this stuff stacking up, and you still have this guy out here free as a bird. It just doesn't make sense. And again, like I said, you have a girl taken apart, found inside his car outside of his home that he was renting. And yet he still wasn't even arrested. I'm telling you right now, there's so many other people that would have been arrested with less information. So why is this guy getting this type of treatment? It just doesn't make sense to me. All right? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So again, here soon, I'm hoping that before Thanksgiving, he is being brought in. Now, where he is, I don't know. They got to find him first. Now, they may know exactly where he is. But like I said, they got to find out where he is as soon as possible so that they can actually take him in so he can get arrested as soon as possible. I hope it's before Thanksgiving. I really, really do. Anyway, guys, that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. It really means a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Please be sure before you head out, all right? Before you head out, hit that like button down below. Crush it, do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on these other platforms. If you are watching on these other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, make sure you hit that follow button. Follow. Don't forget, subscribe here on my YouTube channel. Subscribe right here, please and thank you. Subscribe. Go and check out the Pascal Show clips and Pascal Raw. Those are my other two YouTube channels. Go over there. Subscribe over there too. Hit that notification bell on all those platforms so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because it is random, okay? Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. Of course, check out that Christmas song. Of course, it's available for download. And the other Christmas song that I did last year, available for download on all streaming sites. So go check those things out. That'd be greatly appreciated. All right. Check out that Patreon. And of course, like I said, check out pascalmerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there. All right. Check that out. pascalmerch.com. Okay, guys. Anyways, time to get going. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll be talking to you guys very soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.